It was a dark and stormy night. Volks made a tweet with this doll in the picture and reminded me of something I had long forgotten. That the ultimate way to show love for a character isn't an Android doll, or a cosplay, or an eat a bag. It's a Dollfie dream. For the unfamiliar, Dollfie Dream is a line of vinyl dolls by the company Volks, and they're made to look like anime characters. The Dollfie Dream line is well known for its licensed anime dolls. These dolls are made to look like a specific character. They are sold in limited quantities via pre-order or lottery, which makes them quite expensive, and they're a great centerpiece for a big weeb collection because of that. However, that's not all there is to Dollfie Dreams. Dollfie Dreams are also highly customizable. Even the licensed dolls can be made into whoever you want them to be by swapping out the eyes, wigs, clothes. You can even have the face repainted. And this is just a very common part of doll culture. Like, customizing a character, changing them from the licensed version is not at all abnormal. And the licensed dolls are not their entire business model. There's even a section on the website where you can just buy blank bodies, blank parts, and you can turn the doll into whoever you want it to be. And that is how I made my first Dollfie Dreams. So my first dolls were Pure Nemo Castor and Pure Nemo Elisa Nostalgic Story. I got these dolls around 2012, 2011, and at the time my main interest was still figures, but Dollfie Dreams especially were like really popular and I would see dolls a lot. So by 2013 I was ready to join the Dollfie Dream Club. It was quite an upgrade from Pure Nemo's, but once you have doll fever, you have doll fever. So I chose the DDH06 to make my OC Celeste. And Celeste is a character who has been in my mind since I was 12 years old, which made her an easy choice. But another reason that I decided to make an original character is because there wasn't an existing character who I liked enough that I wanted to make that full commitment to. To me, having a doll of a specific character is something really special, and it's also like a way to restrict myself from making dolls of anyone who I like. It has to be someone really special. It was just easiest to do an original character. I also wanted the doll to be a character who I had a vision for. So for me, having a vision for the character is really important. Some people are able to get a doll and have a bunch of wigs for her and eyes and just swap them out all the time. For me, that's like too many options and I'll go crazy. So when I make a doll, I like for the doll to have a very specific identity, and things like wig color, eye color, personality, like the way they dress. I'll establish those things before I get the doll. To avoid going crazy. And I picked the DDH06 because I liked how like round and perky the eyes were. I wanted Celeste to feel like very mature and gentle. And I put her on a DD2 M bust body, which was a budget measure at the time because the third body was out by then, but I could get the two for cheaper, so. And I loved having Celeste, and soon enough I added a second Dollfie Dream who was a DDH07 named Kanade to my family. And Kanade was not a head that I had customized myself. She was a head that I found on, I think I found her on eBay. And I just purchased her and I was like, that looks like my other OC. Let's go. Even before I got Kanade though, Celeste was never completely what I intended for her to be. I wanted her to be very glamorous with pierced ears, manicured nails, really beautiful like couture clothing, and I just never got around to doing that for her. And in turn, Kanade, she was like a Yuki Onna, and she was meant to wear like Harajuku Decora fashion. And also the head that I really wanted her on was the DDH09, which kind of has like a wider jawline and chubbier cheeks. But you know, I just settled because I found an 07 and it reminded me of her. And like what happened here is that I was a teenager and I was fresh out of high school. I had my first part-time job, and I was just funneling like all of my money into my hobby, but I wasn't really trying to get everything to be perfect. I had doll fever, and I was just like trying to get more and more dolls. So once I started college, I had a lot less time for my dolls. And by senior year, when I really needed money, I kind of sat down and faced that I was never truly, completely happy with my dolls. And I decided to sell off everything except for Celeste's head, which I kept for posterity. And my plan was to one day remake at least Celeste according to my vision. As far as that goes, I was in no rush, and I was fine not having a Dollfie dream for a while. All it took was seeing this Volks tweet about their, just promoting one of their services that had this doll in it, and it just immediately clicked that I had to make Selim. Selim was my first custom Nendoroid doll, and he's my favorite character, and I guess he's my muse. Like just looking at him makes me happy. And once the idea crossed my mind, it was like it just took root, and literally by the next day I had the parts ordered. So normally the way I structure my videos is I'll mostly finish a project and then I'll sit down and tell you about it. This is just to account for error. You know, sometimes you change your mind a lot while you're working on something, and then it's embarrassing to watch the footage like, oh, I messed that up. But what I want to do for this video is sort of like a vlog. So I have planned out the whole doll, and I have ordered the pieces, and I don't want to rush myself. So as the pieces come in and as I am working on the doll, I'm just gonna like check in and just vlog it.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Little baby man, little baby man, little baby man, little baby man, little baby.
You think about forgiveness. Is there a person in your life that comes up to your mind?
No, I hate everybody.
Everyone telling me to be the bigger person, I hear you. However, I cannot. I'm 5'3".
Full Metal Alchemist.
My overall concept for the doll is that I want him to be really cute. And just so that no one thinks I'm taking a villain character and making him ooh woo, let me hop on my soapbox for a minute. One thing I found especially interesting about Pride is that despite everything, he appears to be a naturally cute person. This is something I noticed more readily in the manga, since in Brotherhood he pretty much goes full scary evil villain mode after he eats gluttony, but there's a lot of scenes where nobody is around, and when he doesn't need to be looking cute, that he just looks cute. And I think there's a big difference between a scary monster who's pretending to be a kid and a scary monster who just actually is a kid. Like, once he reveals himself, he doesn't physically change. He always, stays the same. And you get the idea that the pretending he's doing is just pretending to be nice. Like, he is a kid, but he's a bad kid and he's pretending to be a nice kid. And I think this very subtle dichotomy is what made him such an interesting character to me in the first place. I love the variety with which Arakawa draws him. There's artwork where he's with the group and he looks happy, and there's artwork with the group where he doesn't look happy. So to see that both sides of him exist and are the same person, and I like the idea that his cutesy little persona wasn't 100% fake. And the cutesy look is what I prefer personally. It is the default face that I keep on my Nendoroid doll a lot. And for that head, I have chosen the DDH-22. I've been waffling on filming each part of this, so the head has actually already come. But this head is a cutesy, very kind of chibi-ish round head with very perky eyes. The Dollfie Dream head you can put on any body. You can make any kind of character with the heads, but they do have ones that are more specifically intended for Mini Dollfie Dream, which is what this is. And the head that I saw in the picture that inspired me to do this project was actually a DDH-19, but the DDH-19 is a limited head that is only available at the Doll Point shop in Japan. So that's something you have to go and do in person. It is possible to do a proxy service to get one, but this head is a standard head and I won't have to do that for that. I was very concerned about whether or not I was compromising because, like I said in the past, I wanted a 7 head for my other Dollfie Dream and I settled on a 9. But I put the 2 heads side by side, and what the 22 has more noticeably is rounder cheeks and a wider smile. The DDH-19 has a sort of V-shaped smile and very, very puffy cheeks. And I think I prefer the 22. Like, I was really worried that I was settling, but when I put them side by side, I definitely see more of him in the 22. Also, I am making this doll in the semi-white skin tone. This skin tone is the lightest one, and it's a sort of peachy pink color. The doll that I had before was a flesh tone, which is their standard tone, and I always wished that I had put her on a semi-white. So part of this is just that I really want a semi-white doll, and the other thing is that I think that with his black hair and his dark eyes, the paler skin will be very striking. So when recreating a character in doll form, the first thing you're going to want to do is study the character's features, and this went easily for me because I already made my Nendoroid doll, so I already have a good idea of what his features are like. So his face is extremely simple. The most notable thing would be his very short little eyebrows. His eyes are just a simple arch with a small lash at the bottom. He has no blush, no painted on lips, and you might think that that's every male anime character, but for instance, compare him to Hanako-kun, who has a seal on his face, which I would need to paint on if I were making him, and his complexion also has a lot of ruddiness in the eye area. Or you could look at Mamoru Chiba, who has very elegant eyebrows and lashes, and he has very defined lips. So by picking a character who has none of those things, I'm making things a little bit easier for myself. A big change from when I was into dolls the first time is that I have started cosplaying. And what that's done is given me way more advanced skills in pretty much every aspect, and most importantly, I know how to style wigs. My first few dolls, their hair was entirely unstyled, and to me, the whole concept of styling hair was just entirely unknown. There may also genuinely be more resources out there for styling wigs. But anyway, I am very excited to do this wig. So for those who don't know, these kinds of dolls have removable eyes, and the doll's eyes are a big part of the character. If you don't have a very clear idea of what you want, it can be incredibly overwhelming to pick out eyes. So these eyes that I got are black with a little shine in the corner. And last on our preparations list is the body and the clothes. So the body I'll be using is a MDD or Mini Dollfie Dream. The bodies I had before were DD2 and DDS. DD2 and 3 are like adult, just full adult woman bodies. DDS is the sister body, which is meant to be smaller. And then they have now the DDP or Dollfie Dream Pretty, which is an even smaller one. So you can kind of like work your way through the cycles. And this works really well for character dolls. So the MDD is the Mini Dollfie Dream, and they've released a lot of character dolls of like Cyrano from Toho, Ilya from Prisma Ilya. So they do a lot of child characters with these. I have never had a Mini Dollfie Dream. I think I've seen one in person once. And I think this is a great way for me to come back into the hobby. Even though they're not that much smaller than the other ones, it just feels like cute and kind of like less of a huge commitment. Because I did kind of do this project on impulse, but it's like, it's just a little doll, it'll be okay. Anyway, so one thing about the Dollfie Dreams is that most of them are female. Back when I was into collecting them, there were not any males, and you had to customize a male body if you wanted one. There have since been a couple male limited dolls, and if you go to the Doll Point store, you can have a male doll made for you, but they're not common, and their bodies are not standard. With an adult character, back when I really wanted a male Dollfie Dream, I wanted an adult character, and that was the kind of thing you couldn't compromise on because the body types were so different. But with a mini Dollfie Dream, I don't really care, so I'm just going to get the standard body. There is they call it the asexual body that I think has less defined features, but just overall, the body does not have very defined features, so I really don't care. And arguably, I could just get an Obitsu body or even just not have this be a Dollfie Dream, but I really want it to be a Dollfie Dream, so that's what we're doing.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Take off my boot. Oh my god, my boot, not my foot. Do I look fat? Just like 20 pounds overweight.
You're worthless.
This is the land of your people. This is not the land. This is Glendale.
My diamond earring came off in the ocean and it's gone.
And there's people that are dying.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Full Metal Alchemist.
Alright, here's where the real vlogging part starts. No makeup. Okay, so yeah, my intention was to film every part as it came in, and I got lazy. So everything already came except for this, which is the body. I got this directly from Volks. Back with my first Dollfie, I remember I got her body secondhand because I was trying to save money. But I don't know, this time it would have just been easier. Also, the yen is really low right now, so I saved a good bit of money by buying the body and a couple other things just directly from Volks. Like, it's kind of easier, you know, you don't, I just want things to be easy for once. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and open it. It's very light, and they shipped it by like EMS. So it came pretty quickly. You don't need to see my head. Or should I sit down to open it? Then you can't see the box. Okay. Oh yeah, it took Volks like 2 weeks to ship it. And this is one of those things where you buy something on impulse, and then your impulse is really tested as it takes weeks for all of it to arrive. All right, let's see what I got. How about I adjust the camera for this? So this right here is the socks. I'm gonna go ahead and open them. Oh, I cut the wrong section. Oh. So like I said, these have little roses on them, which is kind of girly. But if you're going for like that rich kid aesthetic, I don't think it matters. And I just wanted them, so this is about me. All right, here is the shirt. Oh, it's cute. It's got like princess darts on it because it's made for a girl doll, but you know what? When he's got the vest on, you won't even be able to notice. And now for the piece of resistance. So here we've got the body. I do not plan to do anything. I have a couple projects ahead of this one, so I'm not working on this project actively right now. And I haven't opened the head, but I really want to open the body right now because I've never had an MDD, and I just want to see how small they are. Although I guess if I still had my other dolls, it would be easier to compare. The birth was successful. These, I don't know if these symbols Volk uses mean. They look like crop circles to me. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so little. Do I need to like censor this because the doll's naked? It's so little. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Like I said, I only ever had the bigger dolls before. And I think I've seen these at meets before, but I've never like held one. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so cute. If it's not creepy. It's gonna, oh my gosh. The little hands, oh. Okay, I am gonna leave it in the plastic and not get my filthy hands on it, but this is so tiny. Oh my god. This isn't very distinct, and I think, I wanna put the shirt on it. Okay, so there it is with the shirt on. Somehow now having the doll with the shirt and no pants almost makes it worse than when it was naked. But yeah, okay, I carried that out. That carried that on way longer than I needed to. So the body feels a little floppy right here. Good old. So the butt. Oh, I got the shoe. Oh, I got the socks. I gotta put the socks on. Oh my gosh! It looks like a. Oh my gosh! I like shoved the shoes into the feet into the shoes, so it's kind of wrinkly. But wow! Oh, I'm so excited to have a doll that looks like a little preppy kid. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we got no pants right now. But do you see it? It's happening. It's happening. Alright, it's a little late and I need to go to bed soon. But my face-up supplies came in and I really want to look at them, so I'm gonna go ahead and open them right now. I have a lot to do this weekend, so I really want to do the face-up when I can like focus and, you know, have good concentration. So I'm going to wait until this weekend is over to finally start. But like, I want to see what's in here so bad, so I'm going to go ahead and open it. Anytime I've done Nendoroid doll customizations, I've done it in a way that I feel comfortable. Like, I haven't bought any fancy, expensive paints because that sort of prevents me from starting. Like, if I can start with something I'm comfortable with, I'm more likely to do it. But as I want to improve my quality, and especially since Dollfie Dreams are a more expensive thing, I wanted to make sure I got the right materials. So luckily I already had Mr. Super Clear, which is an intimidating thing to like learn how to use. I've used that before, already had it. I've been purchasing like some tiny little brushes. I've been wanting to do face-ups for a long time, so I have been tangentially aware of the supplies that I need. So I just went to a bunch of different face-up guides and I purchased the things that were most common on there. Like, it seems pretty simple. It's nerve-wracking, but it seems pretty simple. So first off, I have some acrylic paint. I got a Liquitex soft body. Normally I use like the Apple Barrel cheapo paint, but I wanted to get something more expensive. I've used Liquitex hard body paints before. So yeah, for this one I'm gonna water it down and this will be like my paint for the eyes and eyebrows and stuff. Then I got these watercolor pencils. I've seen people for a long time talk about watercolor pencils for face-ups, and I also know that people use them for Nendoroid doll faces, custom faces. These add like a nice soft look, and I usually see people do a draft in watercolor and then they go on top of it with acrylic. I think it's just to keep everything from looking like really harsh. So I got pencils in white, gray, and black. Normally people use dark brown for like the underlayer, but since I want him to look kind of dark and mischievous, that's why I got gray. So I'm going to be using gray where people usually use dark brown. And hopefully I didn't make a mistake. And then at last I have some pastels. I've never used pastels on Nendoroid dolls, but usually what people will do is make the pastel into a powder and then use it for shading and very gentle features like blush and just contouring and stuff like that. I'm nervous to use these, but I'm also really excited by like the potential. So they let you just pick by the shade and then they sent it to me in this cute little box. So for the blush, I got this color called Bordeaux. Then I got this burnt sienna color, which is like a flesh neutral tone, and I also got this Van Dyke brown. So the two of these I'm going to blend together and work together to have them be shading. I think this is a good starter pack. You know, these are all neutral colors. I can use all of them. I'm a little bit nervous about this, but I'm happy to have the supplies finally. So yeah, with all of this stuff together, I now have everything that I need for the face-up. I've already Mr. Super Clear prepped the head, so it's like, it's ready to go. And yeah, after this weekend, I'm gonna set up like a bunch of cameras and go ahead and get started on the face-up. I'm just gonna keep on rambling because I'm like nervous to start the face up. But yeah, I've looked at a bunch of examples. I feel somewhat confident, and I know what I want. So I think that should help. I thought this would be a great opportunity to do a check-in because I feel like part of the creative process, especially when you're learning things, is that it doesn't always go as smoothly as you would like. So this is what we have currently. I stuck the eye in there for like reassurance, and in my opinion, it looks bad. And I want to talk about why I think it looks bad. So yes, here's the face up right now. I blocked it out in watercolors and then I added the acrylic. And I would say it looks bad because it is very severe. So I used a pure black color because I wanted that like contrast, you know, that strong contrast. But to me, it's too much. Also, I would say it feels too drawn on. I think the best Dollfie Dream face-ups have a very painterly effect to them. I used a really small brush to get like intense lines, but it doesn't look good. Like it doesn't look painterly like I would like, which is something I've been struggling with because his design is so simple. But I think that if I absolutely needed to, I could maybe save this by like adding more stuff to it. But let's just say I'm unhappy with it right now. Alright, so this is a little unhinged of me, but I can be impulsive when things aren't going the way I want them to, which is good and bad. Bad because sometimes I don't learn how to do it properly, but good because I hope it works out. So my original concept for this, I've been editing this video like as I'm making the doll so that I can release it as soon as I'm done. And I actually edited all of this stuff out because I didn't think it would be relevant. But my original concept for this doll was the DDH-27. So the DDH-27 has eyes that are not quite as wide and it has no sculpted on mouth. I was really in love with the idea of using this head, and then literally the next day I looked at the eyes on the 22 and I was like, no, I want big eyes. But the problem that I'm having with, where did I put it? I've started removing the face up already. The problem I was having with the 22 is that his lash line is very thin. And I think on a girl character, I wouldn't care about having thicker lashes, but like, I am so worried that he's just gonna look like an adorable little girl, which is not what I want. Also, I didn't particularly enjoy painting it. So yeah, the way that this works is that here's where the lash like needs to be, and then it really recedes. And that's something that I've heard people talk about before. People who paint Dollfie Dreams is like, oh, this sculpt was really easy to paint. And now I understand that. When you paint like a Nendoroid head, it's completely flat and you don't have to worry about a sculpt. But with this one, I feel like I'm kind of fighting the sculpt in the eye wells. And I am going to swap to the DDH-27. And yes, I did purchase this. I can't remember if I said it already. I purchased this and then the next day decided to buy the 22. So I've had the 27 and I was going to sell it. I was going to save it for maybe a secret other video, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it now. So some of the things that I'm liking better, hopefully, allegedly, about the 27. This one has less of a severe eye well, at least from my perspective right now. It has less of a severe eye well. And also, I need to do these little, like, he doesn't have that many features, but he does have a very small, like, eyelid line. And this head, like, I can see it. I can see where it'll go. I feel like Michelangelo right now. Like, I see the sculpt. I visualize the statue within. Also, I've been using pure black, and I am going to mix some gray into it to make it a little bit less black, because as you can see with the head that I might be scrapping, it's a little bit severe. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and prep this head, and let's continue this disastrous evening. So at this point, I have definitively switched to the 27 head. I like the shape of the eyes a lot better, and I think the flat mouth is actually working pretty well for him. So this is the head I'm definitely sticking with. I wanted to film this, you know, in a very artistic, crafty way with the overhead camera. First of all, I don't have the supplies for that. And second of all, since this isn't going as smoothly as I thought it would, I need like all of my mental energy. And anytime I need to pause to check the camera or adjust an angle, it's just really taking away from making sure I get this right. So I'm going to be showing you pictures of the things that I have done, because I did used to be a blogger before this, and I missed that. At this point, I've done the head maybe 3 or 4 times, and at first the thought of getting something that looked good and then wiping it off was like really scary. But as I figured out what I was doing, I realized I can reproduce things pretty quickly, and like each time I redo it, it's better. So I don't mind wiping something. Like I've been happy with the face, and then I don't like the mouth, and I just wipe it, because I know that there's things I missed on the eyes that I can redo again better, you know? So I think that the rhythm that I've really figured out would be with these 2 brushes. So this is the brush that I used on Lust, and I think I mentioned in that video that it was a bigger brush and I shaved it down. I have shaved it down even more for this. So this is a model's brush that I bought at like a gamer store, and I thought it was pretty thin, but something I learned with my first attempt is that even this is too thick. So I shaved this one down even more, and it's like 3 hairs, but it works really well for adding eyelashes. But yeah, that's what I've been doing, is just switching between these 2 brushes, the bigger one for big shapes, and then the really thin one for like the ends and for areas around the corners. So I mentioned that that first one, like as I've continued, I've realized just how bad that first one is, but it makes me happy that I was able to figure out what was wrong with it and improve. I think I'm about to start my 5th attempt, but I just wanted to drop in and talk about the things that I have figured out.
Fullmetal Alchemist.
So before I show the final product, I wanted to do a quick aside. I feel like something that didn't really come across in this last edited section is just how difficult this was. So this project took me several months. I'll say at the end exactly how long it took me. It took me several months. There was a lot of nervousness. There was a lot of stalling on the part of like actually purchasing the supplies, and because of how things went, a lot of me talking about that got like edited out, which is why I want to devote a section to how much I struggled with this face up. And I was trying to think of the best way to communicate that, and I remembered that I was tweeting while I was doing it. So here for you guys, I have a selection of the tweets that I made while I was working on this face up. I'm about to begin the face up. Waited until I had nothing else on my plate. Total concentration. Fear. I'm sorry I talk like this. Also notice how I was like, okay everyone, I'm ready at midnight. It was too cringy when I tried to read this out loud, but like basically early on this was something I was really struggling with. Was I really like the detailed face-ups, but he has such a simple face, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to be adding excessive details and like worrying that it would look like him or not. That's basically what this is. And also his design being so simple actually I think made this harder for me. This will all be in the video. I hope my nervousness comes across, LOL, and we'll see in a bit if it was warranted. So yeah, right before I started, I did still have a glimmer of hope that I would be able to manifest skill in this thing that I had never done before. Partially because every YouTube video makes it so easy. They're like, I'm going to make the face up, and then they just start drawing and it looks good, and that is not reality. That is not my reality. WIP, crying, throwing up. This is the very first one, and at this point I actually did think it looked good. I wouldn't have posted it if I didn't think it looked at least a little bit good, but it hadn't quite sunk in or gotten to the point where it was like definitely bad. Starting over. That's the sound a clown makes, or the sound I make. It's so funny. I keep pulling up references like I don't know what he looks like I'm gonna discover something new. This is how you know I'm deep in it, because things aren't turning out like I want them to. So I have an album that's just full of pictures of my boy, and that when I start scrolling through it, like what is it? What is it that I'm missing? And there's nothing. This is neither easy nor fun. It's a little, but the terror. So this is the point where I had switched to the other head, and I think in the last part it came across as perhaps a brilliant idea or a moment of triumph. It was not. It was like, I have tried everything on this head and it looks terrible, and it's like, well, I have this other head. Let's see what I can do, and at the very least, if I'm going to ruin a head, then I'll ruin this other head. I've got a rhythm down now, so I'm just painting the head over and over, trying to learn from my mistakes, and I figure something else out every time, so hopefully soon I'll have a version I can keep. At this point I am getting something that looks decent. It doesn't look great, but maybe the dread had worn off. Experimenting with lashes. I think I figured them out, but it's too much for what I need. So things are getting better at this point, but one concerning thing is that I was wiping the head continually, and you can see the shadows of it in this image. Is that the watercolor pencils that I was using for the eyebrows and for the mouth were staining the head, so it was like, yeah, I'm getting something, but it's not a good situation. Like, I don't feel good about myself, and just having to continually wipe the face, and sometimes it would leave behind residue. I eventually ended up getting the gunk off with what's it called, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. That was able to get 99.9% of that staining off. I actually did discover something new by looking at references. I have no idea what this was. I cannot remember at all. Waiting for my third eye to open. I can't believe I didn't show this, but yeah, this is what I had up on my computer while I was doing the work. Just 3 pictures of his face to stare at, as if it's anything special. I think what was happening at this point, so like chronologically, I now know that I was maybe 2 or 3 faces away from the final product, but this was late at night, and one thing is that I spent probably a 3-day weekend just glued to my work desk trying to get this right. And you know, every time you wipe, you have to respray the face at least 3 times, and it takes a minute for it to dry, and you have to go outside and blah 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 blah. So it was just a lot, and I think that's the the stress that I was expressing here. I go to bed defeated, but I will try again tomorrow. Low key, this is so dramatic. But also, I'm surprised that I tweeted this at only 2 a.m. Day 2 of this hell. I think I've damaged the head a little. At this point, going back through this, even I'm a little bit tired of me, so I'm trying to remember exactly where I was in my head. But after a defeated sleep, I am now, unbeknownst to me at the time, I am now very close to the end. And what brought me close to the end was looking more at other people's dolls. For a long time, I was bringing up pictures of him and looking at him. And then I had to come to the point where it's like, okay, do you want this doll to look like him? Or do you want this doll to look good? And that doesn't mean that he doesn't look good. It just means that there's going to be different parameters for like a drawing versus a real doll. So I started to just find Dollfie faces that I thought looked cute. And I started to incorporate details from those into my face up. And I think the biggest thing was the eyelashes. In earlier iterations, I was giving him very like cutesy eyelashes. And I felt like it was looking too girly. So this is when I started to tone down the lashes and I started to really like what I was getting. But you can't tell that from this tweet. When Frodo said, "I wish the ring had never come to me," that's how I'm feeling right now about this. This is one of my go-to mental states, like when I'm doing something that I decided to do. I guess Frodo never decided he wanted the ring, but anyway, that's for me. When I'm doing something that I wish I had never started, I remember when Frodo said this. And yeah, at this point, it was like, I guess that I was getting better, but it felt like I would never reach what I wanted to. And it felt like I completely lacked the skill to create what I wanted, which like hurt because, you know, it's a character I really like and it's a doll that I really wanted to make. And I did kind of regret even starting this because it was like some new demon I had saddled myself with. And yeah, I am very dramatic. I'm nearing the end. I think I've made the breakthrough. And what was that breakthrough? Let's find out in my next video. No, just kidding. We'll find out in just a minute. Full Metal Alchemist. And there we have it, our finished head. As I mentioned in the intermission, I think one of the things that really helped me to get here was changing how I was doing the lashes. Rather than having lashes that poke out, I have lashes that curve in. And to me, that just really felt like him. And a lot of trying to get things to feel like him had to do with these minute facial details. Also the eyebrows. On the other versions, I had the eyebrows really low. And for this one, I decided to bring them up more after looking at pictures of him. And that really helped somehow. Yet another thing that really helped was better understanding my medium. So I got the watercolor pencils because they're a popular thing that people use and I wanted to give them a try. But early on, I found them to be somewhat useless, and same thing with Nendoroid dolls where I just use acrylic paint. But a problem I started to have is that the face felt like evenly weighted throughout. And this is something that really came up when I started looking at other people's face-ups, is that on my face-up, the eyebrows, the eye creases, the face, the lashes, all had the same visual weight. And especially in anime style, you're going to want some features to be a little bit finer. Like, you're not going to want the mouth to be so harsh that it looks like it was painted on. And the eyelid creases are just meant to be like a little touch, not something so aggressive. So what really helped me was taking those watercolor pencils and using them to make the finer features. So in the end, the only thing that ended up being done with the acrylic paint was the lashes themselves. Everything else was done with watercolor pencil and then shaded on top with pastel. And the pastels were absolutely one of my favorite parts. Before the final one, I did do another face up that didn't get like documented that had pastels on it. And I sort of allowed myself to mess up on those just to understand how they worked. But I love shading, and in my own makeup, I love adding blush. So this was very fun. I added blush on the cheeks, of course, and then I put a little dot on his forehead. I've seen people do that before, and I just think it's really cute. I guess the real life equivalent is like putting a dot of blush on your nose. His nose is too small, so I did it on the forehead. And then we also have blush or pastels used as shading. I think that really helped with the eyebrows. I have some under the chin and then around the eyes. I feel like that helped to give it depth in a way that just the pencil itself wasn't able to have. I think out of all of his features, the one that I might be least satisfied with would be his eyebrows. I'm happy with what they are, but I have seen some super cute eyebrows that are very like delicate and kind of faded, and I would have liked to get that. Also, symmetry is an issue. My eyebrows are not symmetrical, and his smile's also not symmetrical, but it's art. Also, I was going to stick this part at the end, but you know what? It's relevant here, so I'll talk about it here. One thing I have to thank is my Nendoroid doll. So I mentioned also in the intermission, I had no idea the intermission would be so special to this video. I mentioned that I started to think about not trying to make it look like him, but just trying to make it look cute, trying to make it something that I liked. And that was when I started to look a lot at my Nendoroid doll, who himself is kind of the same thing. Like, it's recognizable as him, but it doesn't look exactly like him. And looking at that doll kind of allowed me to free up my, like, the perfectionist in me. So it's interesting because in a sense, this doll is painted or is based on another doll that I made, so we have like somewhat of a degree of separation, but I do think that it's recognizable as him, and I think it's a cute doll. I mean, he's such a generic looking character that I kind of like that I can just like take him out with me, and like you'd never know, you know, exactly who this character is. It could just be a cute little boy, and that makes me happy. Like, I wanted to have a doll that was cute. Next up, we have our final pieces of clothing. So initially, I bought the socks and the shirt and planned to make the vest and the shorts on my own. But as soon as I cut out the patterns, I was like, no. So I went to the website Alice's Collection and I bought everything else. It took about a month to come, which further delayed this project and made me frustrated again, but like, I wasn't frustrated because it took a long time. I was just frustrated because I drew this out way longer than I needed to. Anyway, here we are. So the shorts, I'm really, really happy with the shorts. I was worried that they'd be out of stock on something and they'd try to cancel my order. And I was like, please let me at least get the shorts. So yeah, I love these. They have like the little pleat in the front. They're the perfect color. The shorts are really well made too. They even have like a tiny little zipper, which, like, they didn't need to do that. It's a functioning tiny zipper. It's so cute. If I were to make these on my own, I would never put in that much effort. So both of these pieces are in MSD size. Unfortunately, because of the differences between the MDD body and like a male MSD, it's a little tight. It's tight in the butt and it's tight in the chest, and we know why. But otherwise, everything fits really well. This is technically like a different kind of vest than the one he wears. It's got a little V instead of being straight across. I thought I might try to alter it when it came in, but it's so tight that there's just no way. And after everything I've been through, I kind of don't mind it. Maybe one day I'll find a vest that has like the right closure, but I'm really not too worried about that. It even has like the little strap in the back, like a real vest would. Maybe I'll put a little buckle on there. That would be really cute. So yeah, real happy with the clothes. I would love to get more of his outfits. But for now, this will do. He can match my Android doll. He can match my cosplay. How embarrassing. I ended up not making any of the clothes, but there is a slight modification I'd like to make to the shoes. They have these really cute bows on them, so I'm going to be removing the bows. I had tried to peel it off a little bit, and it was taking some of the material with it, so I also got some Angelus leather paint to patch up anywhere that might be a problem. What to do when your shoes are too cute? Step 1. That's right, in this house we hate adorable bows. Rip them off! Do it now! Aw shucks, your aggression ripped enormous holes in them. We'll fix that up in a jiffy with Angelus leather paint. Just a glob or two and it'll be like nothing ever happened. Just kidding! You can still totally tell there were holes there. Guess you bought that paint for nothing. After you're done feeling like a failure, move on to the next step. Grab some scrap fabric. The closer you can get to the original texture, the better. Then, cut it into strips. And your shoes are successfully decutified. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and tap the bell icon. So I said I would say how long this project has taken, and to illustrate the passing of time, I'm sitting in the fall leaves. And maybe I'll get some crunchy leaf ASMR as well. So I first announced this project in July, like early July, and I think a lot of what has held it up, there was a solid period around September where I was just very nervous to start like the face up, and even though the face up felt like torture, it really only went on for 3 days before I was done with it. But I guess I was just very frustrated with myself for moving slowly. And another thing that has caused a lot of waiting has been the wig. I'm going to reveal the wig last because that was literally the last thing that completed the doll. But I kept buying, like, the wig would come in the wrong color. There's 2 colors that are pretty popular for like black-haired wigs. One of them is jet black, which is what I wanted, and the other is natural black, which is it's like my hair color, just a very, very dark brown. It looks a little bit more natural. I mean, I know people have jet black hair in real life, but you know, it's more whew. So yeah, I had 2 wigs come in that color instead, and then the first wig I got that was like perfect, I over trimmed it and I had to buy a new one. And with cosplay wigs, you can like pretty easily get a replacement wig from like Mercari or Amazon, but with doll wigs it seems the market's a little bit smaller, and like there are US shops, but they mostly had like girl doll wigs. They didn't have what I needed, so anytime I wanted to buy a wig I had to wait like at least 2 weeks for it to show up, and it was just a lot. So what this ended up allowing me to do though was try something that I was intimidated by and had decided not to do, but then I had enough time on my hands that I thought I might as well do it, and that would be body blushing. I was trying to move somewhere that the sun wouldn't be in my eyes, and now I'm just in a dark corner, which completely defeated the aesthetics of what I was going for. But I'm already filming. So, what is body blushing? Body blushing is a final touch, an extra detail that you can add to a doll. Basically, you take pastels and you add shading to like the crevices, the hands, things like that. This might seem extra because like a doll is already a 3-dimensional object, so it's already going to have shadows falling onto it. But when you think about it, anime figures have shading as well, and it just adds an extra depth, makes things more stylized and intentional. To me, it's just really cute, and I wanted to give it a shot. When I was looking at examples of Dollfie dreams that are blushed, a lot of what I was finding was like freckles, just very light detailing, and the kinds of blushing that I wanted, I was seeing more on resin dolls. The reason for that could be that vinyl dolls are squishy and resin dolls are more solid. So as the vinyl flexes, you might crack the sealant or cause some kind of damage to the blushing that you wouldn't as easily get on a resin doll. But it is possible. I have seen it. I just haven't seen enough of it. And I guess one reason I'm doing this is because I would like to see more of it. Also, I have heard that the blushing will rub off over time if you handle the doll a lot. And, you know, there is still the possibility the blushing could get damaged. But I just really wanted to try it. Having a blushed doll or like manicured nails was one of the dreams I talked about with my first doll, Celeste. So in a lot of ways, my first dolls crawled so that this current one could run. So from what I understood from my research, all you have to do to blush the doll is to seal it the same way you would seal a face-up with Mr. Super Clear, and then go at it with the pastels. It seems that the real skill comes from just knowing like how and where to apply the blush. The blush ended up being my favorite part of the face up, so I was really looking forward to this. And actually when I started doing it, it was like 2 in the morning, and I think I was spiraling a bit, so I wanted to feel control over something, and this was a great project for that. As a result of that, I might not have put as much care or thought into it as if I had been fully cognizant. But it was really fun. I liked it, and I like how it came out. This doll doesn't have any, like, you saw in earlier footage, this doll doesn't have any, like, private parts. But I was thinking that as I show it being blushed and it becomes more detailed, it might, like, trigger the algorithm or something to think that I have, like a nude person. So I'm going to be censoring it. Also for, like, the character's dignity. I feel like with a character doll, there's something different than like if it was my OC. I feel like I need to respect him in some way. So yeah, when I show the body, I'm going to be censoring it, but it's not because there's anything there. It's just because I feel like that's something I should do. So yes, after spraying with Mr. Super Clear, I decided to do my blushing in layers, starting with the pink and then working towards the brown. With the style that I was going for, I wanted it to be overwhelmingly pink. Like, I wanted that to be the color that stood out the most. So the brown would just be there to accent it and to make it feel less obnoxiously pink. And I started out with the hands. Because of the way his outfit is, that's another part of this, is that the outfits that he wears, his body is mostly covered anyway. All you're really seeing is like his knees and his hands, which is another reason why I had decided against doing this. But at the same time, like, this is my doll, and this is for me, so, like, I know the blushing is there. It's very detailed. The love has gone into this doll. I decided to start with the hands and the feet because that was the thing that you were going to definitely see. I guess in case it went badly, I'd at least have those finished. And also, I felt like I most understood how to approach that. So I mostly went for, like, the palms and the knuckles and this part of the hand. And then in the crevices, I did like shading in brown. I looked at other people's blushings and I noticed I really liked when there would be a lot of color like on the fingers, and then there would be less as you moved up the hand. So I did concentrate like the brown blushing in the fingers and the pink around the palms and the tops of the hands. Another thing I wanted to do was a manicure. He doesn't have like painted nails, so I wasn't going to do French tips or anything, but I wanted there to be some kind of definition on the nails. First, I decided to do little moons on his fingernails in white, but I didn't really like how that looked. It looked very bright, kind of obnoxious. So I ended up mixing up a nice peachy pink color and putting that on his nails, and then I hit it with some gloss. We were good there. Pretty much exactly the same thing for the feet. Then I moved on to the body. The only trouble I had with the body is that I over blushed the knees, and then when I bent the knees you could see like suddenly it was white. So I found out that the best way to do the joints was to just touch like the top of the elbow and the top of the knee and not the part underneath. There's still a little bit of staining on my knees from where I messed that up, but that's okay. Otherwise though, yeah, it was just adding blush to like the crevices, the small of the back, the the collarbone area, stuff like that. And it felt a little bit unhinged as I was doing it, but I really like how it came out. And yeah, I would definitely do this again to another doll body. If I were to get another doll, another large Dollfie Dream, I would definitely brush the body, because to me that felt really worth it. This is the final stretch. Next up, the wig, literally the day after I finished blushing, the wig came in. So we're all set for the final reveal. Announcing the birth of Pride Selim Bradley, Full Metal Alchemist II. Thank you all for coming to the ceremony. I was trying to think of how to close out the video so I'm not just saying, okay, it's done, and I'm gonna do a final assessment of the project. So my two terms are going to be a likeness and enjoyability of the overall project. So a likeness is just how much does it look like him, or how satisfied am I with the final look of the doll. As I mentioned in the all-important intermission section, the final product is somewhat of a 2 degrees of separation, in that he is based on a doll that I already made that was based on the character. But I'm happy with the final result. I think as the person who made it, I'm always going to be thinking, oh, in what way could this have looked better? Or there is definitely a way that this could have looked better, but I think it looks pretty good for what it is, short of an official doll that is sculpted to look just like him. Yeah, I think I'm happy with how it looks. The wig ended up being the finishing touch on the doll, and anytime I have done projects of him, his hair always gives me trouble, which is really sad because it's the world's simplest haircut. But yeah, I ended up getting several wigs for him, and the thing that I had to change the most for this wig was thinning it out. When I first put it on his head, it was very large. He looked like that Tezuka Snow White character, which is absolutely a look, just not the look I was going for. Then as I styled it, at some point he looked alarmingly like me. Yeah, I have managed to get it straighter and thinner. I used my thinning shears a lot to make it more conform to his head and really even out the bangs. There's no way to get the bangs exactly like they are in the show with it looking good. Trust me, I tried that. I tried a lot of stuff on this wig that I am not showing. There's a reason I went through so many wigs and ruined them, and yeah, in this case, simpler ended up being better. I still go in every now and then and trim the wig a little bit to get it closer to what I want, but it is satisfactory, and there are absolutely avenues where I need to let go, and one of those would be the wig. Regarding personal choices that I made while constructing the doll, I chose to do him on a semi-white body because I wanted that devilish contrast between his stark black hair and his pale skin. This was definitely because I wanted a semi-white doll. I could have done normal skin for him, and maybe I should have done normal skin for him. I don't think the doll looks bad, but when you look at him as a character, you don't necessarily think, oh, he's pale. When I look at Lust, I think she's pale, but when I look at Pride, I don't really think that he's pale. This was just something that I wanted to do. And I will tell you that I have more doll projects planned because of how I enjoyed this one. I guess that's a spoiler for the second part of my criteria. I did enjoy this project, so I have other ones planned. And because I chose the semi-white for this doll, I had to go with wider colors for those dolls, or for that doll, and I wonder if that was overkill. So yeah, this doll looks fine. That is just a stray thought that is in my head. Another stray thought that is in my head is, as soon as I put the clothes on him, he reminded me of an Evangelion character. The way they have those super thin bodies and then their feet are kind of chunky. When it comes to dolls, I prefer a bulkier look, and Arakawa's characters also have a round look, so that made me wonder if I shouldn't have gone with the Mochi-Ashi body. If you don't know what that is, Mochi-Ashi is Volk's newest body. It is a mini Dollfie Dream body, and all it is they made the legs and the feet chubbier, and especially for characters who are supposed to look younger, it's like really pudgy and really cute. And I had briefly considered it early in the project. I think I bought the regular body right away, and then I started to wonder if I should get Mochi-Ashi, and then I put it out of my head. I guess you could say in my darkest moments, I wonder what if I had picked Mochi-Ashi. A definite downside to that would be that these shorts are already tight, and they would probably not have fit if I'd gotten the Mochi-Ashi, and I really enjoy being able to buy pre-made clothes for my dolls, so I may have gone wild if I couldn't find half his outfit to fit him. It's in my head. I kind of hate that it's in my head, but it is in my head. I may also be able to make him a new vest that's less form-fitting, and maybe that'll give me more of the shape that I want. I am unfortunately a terrible perfectionist. I hope that's been clear throughout the video, that I suffer greatly for my projects. But yeah, we'll let that segue into the other criteria, which is, did I enjoy this project? And yes, I did. The face-up part was 3 days of hell. The waiting was months of hell. The wigs was difficult. I think a lot of that just had to do with me as a person, my personality, not wanting to wait, being impulsive with making things that are difficult to fix. When I'm really on a roll, I want something to be finished and I want to be able to do it well, and I can't get it out of my head. So also, this was my first time doing a project like this, so I may have felt like I needed to prove myself, not to anyone else, but to myself. So I'm sure that caused additional stress. But the way I'm gripping him, like he's a fine glass of wine. Painting Dollfie Dreams has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but always told myself I couldn't do. I may have said that at the beginning of the video as well, but yes, it is very true, and by doing this, I think I absolutely have opened doors for myself, and I feel a lot more accomplished as a crafter. I enjoyed this so much, and shortly after I finished this head, Volks announced a new head, the DDH-29. So I wanted him to be happy and to be cute, but as soon as I saw the DDH-29, I thought that would be absolutely perfect for his brooding and angry face. So I'm about to become one of those people who has interchangeable doll heads, because I have purchased a DDH-29 and it shipped this morning. I also got him some other stuff, so I'm going to be doing... Honestly, this is not the last time you've seen him. I really like the idea of having one doll who I just absolutely spoil. With my Nendoroid dolls, my Selim doll is definitely my favorite, but I have other dolls. So for this one, I really like the idea of having my one Dollfie Dream, or my one character, my one boy who I take care of, and I'm really looking forward to buying him outfits and giving him accessories and props, and prop hunting for things that are gonna suit him. So I definitely have another video planned, which is going to cover doing a face-up on the DDH-29 and also giving him a new outfit. This one was the long video, the blog, where I have to establish my feelings, everything that's ever gone through my head. I have to say it. But for the next videos about him, I don't plan for them to be an hour long. And I think that wraps it up. You can, yeah.